Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a theory video based on The Mandalorian, and that is, will the final showdown between Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian take place on the familiar planet called Kamino? Well, let's talk first about why I am even asking this question. First, a lot of amazing Star Wars fans and channels were able to decipher Moff Gideon's location, and if you want to check that out, I linked a subreddit below in my description with a ton of people compositing maps of the galaxy on top of one another. It's great. It ends up looking like Moff Gideon is near Tatooine, potentially Pisana, the Rishi Maze, and therefore most likely heading towards Kamino. And it's worth mentioning that it's also possible that the Moff is still mid-travel towards his destination, so perhaps I'm dead wrong here and he's going outside of the galaxy. Who knows what's going on? With that out of the way, I think Kamino is highly likely for a few reasons. First, if I remember correctly, Moff Gideon is bringing Grogu to Dr Pershing. So, based on his location and the emblem of the Kamino cloning facility on Pershing's attire, it makes logical sense to me that Moff Gideon would travel to the cloning facility to ensure that even if Grogu is saved, maybe he has backups now because Dr. Pershing took his blood, being a cloner, preparing for the worst. Even though they are supposedly draining all of Grogu's blood, why not clone the youngling for future experiments? That's where my brain's at. Another layer to this involves Boba Fett. It would be an interesting angle to the final episode for an unaltered clone, Boba, to return to the place of his origin. It could also add another dynamic to what it means to be a Mandalorian now that Din Djarin figures out or knows now that Boba was a science experiment. However, for Boba, perhaps he looks at Kamino the way Mayfield looked at the Imperial remnants in Valen Hess, something that now needs to be eliminated. So it could make for an interesting final arc in this season regarding Boba Fett. Plus, it pays homage to Attack of the Clones. Boba was just a child back then, watching his father face down a Jedi, and now Boba Fett is back on the planet along with another Mandalorian trying to save a Jedi, in this case a youngling. Beyond that, we have seen some extremely disturbing experiments aboard Moff Gideon's light cruiser, and I can only imagine that the tech came from Kamino itself. So perhaps traveling back to Kamino now, roughly 30 years later, will show something closer to what's happening in Palpatine's laboratory on Exegol. If my theory is correct about Moff Gideon attempting to create loyal Force-sensitive clones using Grogu's blood that contains that high M count, why not use a more sophisticated cloning facility like the one already in existence on Kamino? For all we know, Moff Gideon took it over by force. And if this is the case, maybe Din, Boba, Cara Dune, and Fennec will actually discover that this does link to some weird resurrection program for the old Emperor, or at least the long-term goals of these remnants to dominate the galaxy again prior to the First Order. We're not sure yet. After all, if the contingency plan regarding Operation Cinder is now being brought into the fold of this narrative, it's reasonable that things involving Palpatine could be brought up with these Imperial remnants. So what do you think about this theory regarding Kamino? I think it's solid, and honestly, I want to see Kamino in live action again. I'd love to see how it looks with the original trilogy aesthetic of The Mandalorian. They're doing that OT aesthetic, so why not see how some of that prequel stuff looks with this new rendering capability? So as always, may the Force be with you. AT-AT is signing off.